Si Noel kumukuha na. Ayan, so expected 30 people. Kung may kakilala kayo na wala pa, sabihan nyo na sila. Pag siguro mga 7, tapos wala pa lahat, sa atin na yung
Ikaw pa naman na to eh.
Okay, so before anything else, ayun, so this is the first tech talk for Playhouse. So, yung Playhouse, every month na tayo gagawa ng tech talk. Mataya kayo sa...
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this month for November, si Bryan yung magsispeak so about Xamarin. Actually, siya, recently naging MVP siya for Visual Studio Technologies.
Visual Studio and Development Technology.
Development Technology. Palakpakan natin. Yun na mo yan. So yun, actually matagal ko nakilala si Bryan before innovation team din siya.
Yeah.
Yun. So, kaya ako siya na-invite rin today. So, ayan, actually before mag-start, plug ko na lang din this Thursday may event. But hindi siya technical, more on entrepreneurship. Baka interested kayo. Magaling yung speaker. Narinig ko na siya first hand, yung whole talk niya. And very inspiring. And it's related to one of the programs that we'll be doing here in Playhouse. Okay? Sige, without, para makauwi na tayo lahat, si Bryan.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Okay, so again, I apologize for arriving late. Again, other than na-traffic ako, also, release din kasi namin today. So, ayun, I was the one who always nagre-release ng mga sa store. We're currently developing an airline application kasi. So, yeah. Anyway, hello everyone. Okay, so before we proceed to the actual topic, I just want to know who among you already knows how to or has an idea about Xamarin.Forms? Anyone? Okay, cool. All right, cool. Okay, so before we proceed, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Bryan Garcia. I am a software engineer analyst here at Avanade. I am also the lead of mobile.NET Developers Philippines. So we have a monthly event that happens in Microsoft Office. So we will have an event for November 25. So just so you know, guys. And also, again, just like what JM said, that I'm an MVP for Visual Studio and Development Technologies. So, yeah. So now let's proceed to the actual topic. So, I'm here to talk to you about Xamarin.Forms. So, what it is all about, how to get started, and what Xamarin.Forms is capable of, and yeah, things all about the basics of Xamarin.Forms. So I'm here to talk to you about how to create a cross-platform application, cross-platform mobile application using Xamarin.Forms. So yeah, before we have the actual demo, I just want to answer this question. Why do we need to create a cross-platform mobile application? Or basically, why do we need to create a mobile application at all? Well, nowadays, most of us, most users already have more than one, multiple devices. So as developers, well, it's understandable for us because we need test device. So probably we have 2 or more devices, probably an Android phone and an iOS phone. Yeah, those devices. But even nowadays, even your mom, even your dad, even your friends and your relatives already have maybe 2 or more devices that they use in their daily lives. So they use it to finish a task, maybe to check out something in the internet, or even to do things in the real world. We use it daily. We use it all the time. So in order for us developers, as a developer, of course, I want my users to use my application wherever they are and whatever they are using. I just want to cater all of those platforms, may it be iOS, Android, or Windows Phone. So yeah, but in order to do that, I need to learn multiple development stacks. So yeah, you need to learn different. Of course, we need to learn different platforms. So right now we have this. We have these 3 platforms, our 3 favorite mobile platforms. First one is, of course, Android and Windows Phone and Apple. So yeah, those things. But it's not going to be that easy because, of course, it will have different. In order for us to cater all these platforms, we will have to develop on multiple using multiple development stacks. We'll have, of course, different IDEs, different languages, and different SDKs. So obviously for iOS, we have this Swift or Objective-C that we use in Xcode, and also we use iOS frameworks. And for Android, we have Java and Android Studio. We use Android SDK. And of course, for Windows, we have our favorite language, C#, and our favorite IDE, Visual Studio. And we also use the .NET library. But yeah, again, as a developer, this has some downside. As you can see, you need to learn all these 3 development stacks. As a developer, I don't want to spend too much time learning these development stacks. I mean, it will take me three times the time, 3 times the difficulty, And also, other than that, it will even not as a developer, even just a project manager. Yeah, maybe you can find some developers that can do all these 3 platforms or can develop an application using on all these platforms. But yeah, they are really rare. And other than that being rare, they're also, maybe it will cost a lot. Of course, they're developing 3 platforms, or even just 2, even just iOS and Android. I mean, Windows Phone is already dead. So yeah, sorry for Windows Phone users. I'm also a Windows Phone user, so yeah. Anyway, still, it's hard to find an iOS and an Android developer. If ever you find one, it will cost you a lot. So yeah, even though that is a problem, it will cost much, it will take a lot of time, it will be so hard. But there are some pros with this. Of course, if you develop against these platforms traditionally, so the traditional approach is, of course, developing each of them on each of their development stacks. It will still be, the performance will be great because it's natively built. The look will be, it will look and feel natural. Of course, it's, again, natively built. And of course, it will have a great documentation. Other than that, of course, you will have a full access of the Android or iOS or Windows SDK. So yeah, it's really great to do that also. It's going to be It's going to be really hard. It will cost much, and it will take more time, but you will have really amazing performance. But still, as a developer, or as even as a project manager, I don't want to experience those difficulties. And so, Microsoft has something for us. Introducing the Xamarin. So Xamarin allows you to have a great performance because, again, it's going to be natively built. Later on, I will explain to you how is that happening. It will look and feel natural. It will have a native look and feel. And it will have, of course, it has a great documentation. I mean, it's Microsoft. And also, you have full access of the SDKs, of all the APIs for each platform. So it will be really awesome. So yeah, it's not only those 3 platforms that you're going to be able to build with Xamarin. You're also going to be able to build all these platforms, all these machines in front of you. You will be able to run your Xamarin application on all of these. So in just writing just a single application, a single solution, or a single project, by the way, you can now run it on all these platforms using just C#. So you can run it on Mac OS, or a Windows desktop, a Linux machine, maybe even smartwatch and smart TV, and even your refrigerator, even your toaster, your microwave, and washing machine. So yeah, okay, so it's true. Because UWP runs on Windows IoT, and Windows IoT runs on all these appliances. And yeah, Xamarin can run a UWP application. So yeah. So now we can proceed to the actual the magic. What's really happening? What is the architecture of this? How did they do it? What's really happening inside of Xamarin? So we're gonna discuss about the architecture. So the architecture will be I will be discussing more on the Xamarin Android, but it's gonna be the same with the iOS, Xamarin iOS, and even the Xamarin Windows. Yeah. So yeah, at first we have this Android OS at the very bottom, the root levels of Android, the Android system. And in order for you to develop an Android application against this Android OS, you're not going to use Java. You can't use Java. You might think that, hey, I'm developing an Android application. I will use Java. But yeah, you can do that, but not against the Android OS. So yeah, but yeah, no one wants to develop an application, even an Android application, using C. Of course, I'd rather use maybe C# or Java. And so that's what Android SDK did. So that's that Android created a wrapper with a heavy abstraction for that Android system. So now we are able to develop Android applications using Java. We can now just call the labels, the buttons, and those things using Java. So yeah, that's really amazing. I mean, that's what they did is really amazing, and that's why Xamarin did it also. So we have this another layer, which is the Xamarin Android. So all they did is they created another wrapper, which is, for this one, this is a lightweight wrapper, lightweight abstraction of that Android SDK. So basically, what they did with this is that they allowed you, as a user, as a developer, to use all the APIs, Android APIs, in the Android SDK by using C#. So you can now call all the controls or any Android APIs using C# instead of Java. So really, that's amazing, right? So yeah, it will still have the native performance. Again, it will still look and feel natural. Still, again, this is just a wrapper. So it will still use the Android SDK, and it will go down to the Android OS. So it will still, the performance will be still awesome. So as you can see right here, we have this BCL. So what is this for? So BCL is basically just the base class library. So it allows you to as a .NET developer, you can now use all the .NET APIs that you love. So you can still use the list of types, the strings of C#, and the HTTP clients, the Newton.json, so things like that. You're still going to be able to use those APIs or those libraries against this Android application. And so because of that, you will be, as a .NET developer, you will be still really comfortable, because it's like you're just developing a WPF application. You're gonna feel like you're just developing a Windows Phone application. So you're not gonna feel, it's not gonna be like, oh my God, I'm developing an Android application now. So what do I do? So it's just gonna be the same, okay, if you're a .NET developer. And it's the same, again, it's the same with Xamarin iOS. So I will not explain that much, but yeah, for Windows, they already have, I mean, the code is already written in C#, so they do not need to have the SDK. So yeah, and so this allows you to, develop a single application, a single project that, or a single solution that can run on different platforms. And as you can see right here, they have this, they all have this BCL. So this is like the common denominator of your projects. And this allows you to create another project, which also will also reference to BCL. And you can use that to write, and you can write all of your, maybe your business logic, and you can share it all on your each platform. So basically, you're just gonna write your business logic once, and it can be used by each of these platforms. It can be used by the Android, Xamarin iOS, or the Windows. So basically, it's your shared project. But yeah, it's really cool. It's really, for me, it's amazing. You're gonna be just developing just a single just a single C# business logic, and it's gonna be used by different platforms. But how about the UI? I mean, I would want to use just a single UI for all these platforms, because right now, using Xamarin Native, you will still have to develop, for example, for Android, you will have to use AXML. For Xamarin iOS, you will have to use the storyboard for the UI. And for UWP, you will have to use the SAML. So yeah, that is exactly what Xamarin.Forms does. So basically, it allows you to create your UI using C# or SAML, and it can be used on all these three platforms. So just for example, you created a single page and you created a button. Later on, I will explain this. It's a button that is also a wrapper, and when you run it on an Android application, you will see a native, or it will render a native Android button on Android. And if you run it on your iOS, it will render an iOS button. Same thing with Windows. So yeah, with that, to cap it all off, Xamarin.Forms allows you to share your UI and your business logic code using C# across all platforms. So again, this is really awesome, because not only for all these three mobile platforms. Again, I explained to you that you can now create a mobile or a Mac OS or Windows desktop, or even smart TV or smart watch applications in just a single from just a single project, which is your shared project. Again, using C# and SAML. So yeah, that's really awesome. And now, in order for you guys to really understand what's really happening, I'm just gonna demo it to you guys. So it's just gonna be a quick demo, just to get you started, just to see, for you guys to see how it really works. Again, I'm not really gonna do a lot of coding right here. I just want to show you guys that it works, that is possible to use platform-specific APIs on all these using Xamarin.Forms. So yeah, let's just gonna go to the to the Visual Studio, So right now I'm using a Visual Studio for, wait a minute, using a Visual Studio for Mac. So wait a minute, I'll just set it up. So any questions before we proceed? Wait a minute. So yeah, it's kind of different with Mac. Of course, Visual Studio, it looks really different. But yeah, just so you know, we have a Visual Studio for Mac already. And yeah, it's just, you can create only a few projects, but yeah, it's still awesome. Anyway, this will still be quite the same. But yeah, let's just create a new project for now. A new Xamarin project, Xamarin.Forms project. So let's just create a new solution. And again, this will look different, but yeah, you can see, if you download a Visual Studio 2017, you can just download the mobile development workload, and you can now use or create Xamarin.Forms applications. So as you can see right here, I have the Xamarin.Forms, the Forms app. So I can just, or let's just create a blank Forms app. So let's just create a new one, and we'll have to add a name for this, intro to Xamarin.Forms. So the identifier, I'm just gonna Forms app. So if you're an Android developer, who among you guys have developed an Android application before? Anyone? Okay, so that's cool. Anyway, this is more of a, you know, if you're using an Android application, you will see this whenever you go to your maybe apps list of apps in your settings. So you will see the organization, things like that. It's not really that important right now, but yeah. Anyway, I'm also targeting not just Android but also iOS, because again, that's what Xamarin.Forms can do. But right here, we can't use Windows. I actually can use Windows or a Windows machine, but I'm not going to be able to show you guys the iOS, because that's a problem with the Windows, or it's a problem with iOS, I think. Problem is that they're not letting you build your application on a Windows machine. You need a Mac to actually develop a Mac application or an iOS application. So yeah, that's too bad actually. That's why I'm using a Mac right now. So you can also use, you have two options for your code sharing project. You can have a portable class library, and you can use a shared class library. So just to explain this, for the shared library, your application will be compiled along your project, or your shared library project will be compiled along the each platform. So if you do not understand that in that explanation, just say that you should always use PCL. You should never use shared library, because you're gonna have spaghetti codes, things like that. It's gonna be really hard for you if you have an application which is already really large. Your project or your solution has been, you've added too much. So I suggest to use PCL in order for you to organize your code properly, to in order for your application to have portability. So yeah, I'm also gonna use SAML for my user interface files. Again, you can use C# or you can use SAML. For SAML, I will show you later how it looks like if you haven't tried it yet. So yeah, let's just proceed to the next page, and yeah, it's gonna be the same. Just create this one, and let's just wait for it to be created. So as you can see right here, I can't zoom it in, but as you can see, you have these 3 projects right here. But ideally, if you're using a Windows machine and you're using a Visual Studio and your machine, ideally you will have 3 projects. You will have, or 4 projects. You will have the shared project, which is this one, my PCL, and you will have 3 more projects for each of your platforms. So for now, I have Android and iOS. But if you're using Windows, you will have an additional one, which is, it depends on your OS. If you're using Windows 10, it will create a UWP application. Or if you're using maybe Windows 8 or lower, you will have Windows Phone 8.1 and even Windows 8, I guess. So yeah, for now, this is just fine because, again, no one uses Windows Phone anymore. We only use Android and iOS. So that's the only platform that we want to target. So let's just go right here in the first project, which is our shared project. So as you can see, this is just like, if you already tried out maybe WPF or Windows Phone, it will look exactly the same. So you have the references, wherein you can add all of your maybe NuGet packages, things like that. I think this is the one, sorry. And yeah, you can add maybe references from other projects. If you add more other projects, for the NuGet packages, it will be added in the packages folder. And you have these properties, just the assembly info, not too much. Anyway, you can see right here, this is the our main application, our Xamarin.Forms application. So if you open this, the app that sampled the CS, you can see that here in the constructor, it has this main page. It sets the main page to a new intro to Xamarin.Forms page. Basically, the main page is saying that this, if you set this, it will set the actual home page of your application, meaning the startup of your page or your application. And as you can see, it creates a new intro to Xamarin.Forms page. So what is this intro to Xamarin.Forms page? So of course, this is my UI. So this is going to create this UI, this SAML UI. So this is how it looks like, how SAML looks like. So have any one of you guys already seen SAML? Anyone have already seen a SAML before? Basically, it's like a hybrid of HTML or an XML. I can't really tell, but yeah, it's more of it's actually the extensible application markup language. So that's SAML. So it allows you to create a markup language for the UI of your Xamarin.Forms application. Even we also use this in Windows 8, Windows Phone, and in WPF. So as you can see right here, it creates a label that just says welcome to Xamarin.Forms. So let's just remove this for now. And yeah, later on we will add a little more. So let's just proceed to the other 2 projects. So now let's go to the Xamarin.Forms Android. So this is the project for your Xamarin.Forms Android. And as you can see, if you're an Android developer, this will look familiar. You will have right here in the, where is it? This one, the main activity. So this is basically the activity, or if you're, again, I don't think there is an Android developer right here, but if you're an Android developer, you're familiar with the activity, or the main activity. That is basically the start of your Android application. That is where you set all the, configure your application. And yeah, basically what Xamarin Android did, or the Xamarin team did, is that they created like a wrapper for the activity. They should, if you're developing in Android, or sorry, if you're developing an Android application using Java, this will be just activity. So instead of the Xamarin compat, it will just be activity. So yeah, as you can see right here, so this is using the Android app namespace. So, but this is not what we're using. We're going to be using the Xamarin Android's activity. So it allows us to, to initialize the Xamarin.Forms in our project. It allows us to use all the, allows us to, it allows the code to recognize all the Xamarin-related codes, Xamarin-related APIs. So yeah. So as you can see right here, we have this line of code on the inside the onCreate. So basically, what this does is it initializes your Xamarin.Forms. So this allows you to again to recognize all of the, maybe for example, you create a button on your shared project. It will create this allows you to create, instead of creating a button of a Xamarin.Forms, it will create a native button of your Android. So this is what Xamarin.Forms initialize do. And basically, this load application loads the application, loads our Xamarin application. So what is this new app now? If you navigate to the, if you remember, we have this app.xaml here in our shared application. So this is what this one is calling. So basically, it creates an application, or a new app, which is this one, our shared projects application, and it creates a page which is the intro to Xamarin page, which will show earlier. It will show a label which has a label text of welcome to Xamarin.Forms. And yeah, before we add something in here, I will explain also what's happening with iOS. So it's almost the same with Android actually. Instead of main activity, they have this app delegate. So it does the same thing. So you can, it also has this initialize for the Xamarin.Forms, and it also loads the application, which is again inside or under our shared project. So now I think we can now create or add some UI inside our content page or our SAML code. So let's just create a button for now. Let's create a button. So again, this is just gonna be basic. I just want to show you what Xamarin.Forms is capable of and how easy it is to actually develop an application, cross-platform application with Xamarin.Forms. So let's just say that just have this hello right here, and just put it in the middle, horizontal options to maybe put it on the center, and vertical options also center. So if I run it on an Android or using an iOS application, or using the iOS project, currently I've selected the iOS project. So in order for you to select that, just set it up as a starter project. So now, if I try to run this, I'm expecting to see a button in my iOS application. So this is it's actually how a button looks like in an iOS application. So basically, it created a, well, this is it doesn't look really good, but this is how Android button or an iOS button looks like. So this is a native control, native iOS button, but as you can see right here, we just created a wrapper, or we just created it using a button, but it's not actually called button in iOS. It's actually called UI button. So now let's try out the using the Android project. So if I run this, I will also expect an Android button at the middle of my application. So again, let's just wait for this to run. So there's actually a problem with my emulator. So let's just wait for it to build. So let's just wait for it. Okay. So okay, for Android, the button looks so much better than the iOS one. So the iOS one is kind of looks sad actually, but yeah, actually want to resize this, but to actually resize this one, it's kind of big, so I think there we go. So for the iOS, we have this button, which is the actually this is the again the native button for iOS, and this is the native button for Android. And as you can see, we just created just a single button, and uh, just earlier I explained to you. So here, I'm going to show you that right here in the example, you can see that they created just this single page, the single page that has lots of controls, and this page allows you to generate this pages for all these platforms. So again, it will render a native control in runtime. So again, single UI, single logic, and it will be rendered differently for each platform. So for me, that is really amazing, and I hope for you guys it is amazing too. So right now, again, we only have this button, so it doesn't really look good because it's just a single button. What we want to do now is to create a few more. So just before we proceed to that, going to show you the slide. So in order for you to create Xamarin.Forms UI, you need to, of course, learn our different elements. So of course we have the pages, we have the layouts, and we have the controls, and these elements will again render differently for each platform. So you will have to again to just create just a single UI, but it will look differently on iOS, on Android, and Windows Phone. So let's start with the pages. So as you can see right here, we have different templates or different wrappers for our pages. You can use the regular content page, you can use the master detail page, or you can use the navigation page, wherein you can have this navigation stack where you can go back and forth on your pages, and you will have the navigation bar at the top or maybe at the bottom, depends on your platform. And of course, we have the tab page and the carousel page, wherein you can navigate through controls by swiping your screen. And of course, we have this layout. So it's quite it's more than just a single maybe stack layout. We also have this frames, the relative layout, and absolute layout, which is a little bit more advanced. But basically, stack layout is more of, if you're familiar with the linear layout for Android, it's just the same. Or if you have ever tried the stack panel, just basically stacking all of your elements or all of your controls depending on orientation that you selected, maybe horizontally or vertically. So yeah, depends on your orientation. Well, by default it is vertical. And of course we have this grid. This one is my favorite layout. So it allows you to, if you already tried grid before, in WEF, just basically allows you to use rows and columns to create a layout for your application or your page. And we have the content. Content view is more of a, if you're familiar with user control, or when you try to create a component for your window or for like an Angular application. I think it's called directives. It's like that. And you also have the scroll view, of course. The scroll view allows you to, if your control or pages already overflows, it allows you to scroll through that page. So yeah, basically that's what scroll view does. And for the Xamarin.Forms controls, I'm not gonna explain each of these, but again, each of these has an equivalent for each platform. So you have button, images, labels. I think for labels you have for Windows we call it text block. for Android, I actually forgot. I think it's called label. And for iOS, they call it UI label. So yeah, again, these are all wrappers for all those platforms. So it depends on where you run it. It will look like a native control or element. So now we can now proceed to the actual development. So let's just create a few more controls just to make it a little bit more exciting. So let's just create maybe a layout wherein we have a label at the top, and we have an entry or a text field at the middle, and we have a button at the very bottom. Okay, so we're gonna use a stack panel. So let's just use a stack panel or a stack layout. Sorry, stack layout, and this allows us to stack our controls. So you can actually assign it maybe orientation is horizontal or vertical. So let's just have it vertical. And you can put it again in the middle. So just put it in the middle, and horizontal is also centered. And you can give it a background actually. Let's just give it a light gray color. And of course, we now can add controls inside that stack layout. So stack layout, again, I want to create maybe a label at the top, a text field in the middle, and a button at the very bottom. So let's just create for the label, you have to create a label. So let's just give it a text of maybe right or maybe put text or write text at the bottom. Write text below. And yeah, we can give it a background color, maybe. So this will look really awful because we're just putting in all of these properties, and just give it in the center and horizontally in the center. Okay, so yeah. Also, there's a problem. I think. Okay. And again, I want to create a text field. In here, we call the text field entry. So basically, we just want to have an entry. Let's just give it a placeholder text of write anything. And yeah, I guess let's just copy this. I just want to put it in the middle. So copy this one. And of course, finally, we want to create the button. So for the button, again, just give it a text that click me, and give it a background color of red. So yeah, so if we try to run this on an Android device, it will look like an Android. It will look and feel like an Android application. So just to show you guys. So yeah, it looks awful, but yeah. So this is basically all of these are using the native what you call this or basically just the controls or the native controls of the Android, and you run this on the iOS. Again, it will look like an iOS application. So as you can see right here, I already have an iPhone 8. So I actually have an iPhone X right here, or iPhone 10 right here. So right here, if you're familiar with the default button for iOS, this is how it looks like, and also for the text field, this is how it looks like. So right here, guys to see that we're actually using a native controls from Android and iOS, I want to do something right here. Let's just give our button a name, maybe just a button click, or our BTN. And we can call it inside, in our code behind, that we have this button that click. Okay, so just give it I think just have it like this. So try to oops. Okay, try to run this. So I have all stack. So sure if I have all stack right here. Looking for my call stack because I actually need it in order for you guys to see that we're actually using an Android. So So, I was actually planning on letting you see or showing you the actual call stack in order for you to see that. There you go. This assembly like this. Yeah. Anyway, my plan was to actually let you see the actual call stack in order for you to see that this application is actually using a native control. That right at the very top we're using, of course, the button right here, which is the wrapper, and it goes down to the UI button of the iOS, and it will go to the root level of the actual iOS system. So yeah, I just want to say that you're able to use the native native controls to have a native performance. So just basically that. But yeah, sadly I can't find it right here because I was able to find it in a Visual Studio for Windows. Visual Studio for Mac is still very young, so it's still not. It doesn't have lots of those even the call stack. So yeah, I think for now that's all for the UI. Now I just want to show you guys that we are able to use platform-specific APIs. So just say that as a developer, of course I still want to use the APIs of the Android SDK, of iOS SDK, and even for Windows. So for example, I want to have like a text-to-speech API. Of course, Android has that. Also, iOS has that in their APIs. But it is different for each platform. So what you need to do is to actually call it using your shared project. So to do that, all you need to do is create an abstraction for your application. So basically all I'm saying is, for example, I want to maybe create an application that for all these platforms that I can type anything and it will whatever I type in, and after I click the button, it will save those words inside that entity or that text field. So in order for me to do that, I will have to use maybe an Android API and an iOS API. And of course, in order for me to do that, I need to call it on my shared project. project. So how do we do that? So I will show you now. I will show you how we can actually pull that off. So it's not really gonna be that hard, but you will have to use the Android API, the actual Android API, but using C Sharp, and even the iOS API using C Sharp also. So actually, I already have the code, but yeah, I guess because it's kind of really hard to remember all of those. So I'm just gonna open this one. It's for you guys to understand what I'm talking about. So first of all, we need to so first of all, again, the first step is for you guys to create maybe an abstraction, or wherein we need to create an interface. So this interface has all of the things or all of the methods that I want to do. Again, what I want to do is for my application to speak or to say whatever I'm gonna type. So we have this speak wherein we pass in a text, which is what we type. So yeah, we have this text to speech, and now the next thing that we need to do is to create an implementation for each project or each platform. So for Android, I have this text to speech class wherein I'm using the iText to speech or the interface that I created in my shared project. So this allows me to connect or integrate the shared project into my Android application or in Android project. So right here, I'm not gonna explain each of these, but this is more of a Android API specific code. Again, all I want to show you guys is that this is possible. This is possible with Xamarin.Forms. So as you can see, it calls these specific Android APIs in text to speech and speaker.speak, wherein in Android, this is how you do the actual text to speech service. Right here, it's being initialized, and for iOS, it's quite different. Actually, it's of course for each platform it is different. It's much easier to implement right here. So as you can see, text to speech implementation. Again, I just have this interface for text to speech, and right here inside we have the speak. Again, we are implementing the speak declaration inside this iText speech or our interface. So now we have this implementation right here, wherein we just create a speech synthesizer, wherein we just have all these stuff right here. So these are all iOS specific, iOS API specific. Again, I'm not gonna explain each of these, but this is what you need to do. You have to create an implementation for each platform in order for you to actually use that the service or whatever API that you want to use. So going back to my app.xaml, the CS, you can actually do this. There's actually 3 types in order for you to achieve the in order for you to use the implementation from each of those platforms. You can use the dependency injection, if you're familiar with dependency injection, or, well, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. It's called the dependency service. Actually it is still a dependency injection, but it is the one that Xamarin.Forms created in order for you to actually get the implementation from each platform. So we're just gonna have to use the dependency service. Sorry. Anyway, I'm not gonna do it right now. Yeah, we're already over time. So anyway, instead, what I did was just to make it really simple. I created a static property, which is the text to speech, which is a type of interface text-to-speech. And again, remember, in each of my platform, I can access this app class. And now what I can do inside my activity is to set my app.text-to-speech to that implementation. So basically, this line or this block of code will only run if I try to run my application on Android. And of course, in iOS, it's the same. This part right here, will only run if I run my application. It will be only executed if I run it on my Android application or my iOS application. So right here, it's not yet added. So let's just add it right here. So what's text to speech equals new text to speech implementation. So yeah, that's the thing with and it the what you call this the Xamarin also. Sorry, the implementation. Sometimes it has this bug that it doesn't give you what you need in the with the IntelliSense. It doesn't recognize it very well. Sometimes you need to reopen or restart your Visual Studio. But I think this will work. So yeah, so now we can try to run this on Android. Just to show you guys, I created the same exact UI that I created earlier. So now I can try this on Android. Not sure if you will hear it, but let's try this out. So any questions, guys? Do you have any questions about Xamarin or? Let's just wait for it. And I think we don't have that much time, so I'm not going to be able to talk to you about all the third-party tools. Maybe I'm just going to show you some of the things that you can use with Xamarin. Maybe some of the stuff that can for the continuous integration, continuous development with Xamarin, and even the testing for the automated testing. So things you can use for Xamarin.Forms. So now I'm not sure if I only have 1%. So I think before we proceed, I need to. So yeah, I don't think there is a volume for this. So it doesn't gonna have a sound, but ideally, what's gonna happen right here is. Yeah, so this is gonna be really, if I type something, for example, I type in hello, it should say the word hello, but again, I'm not sure. I think the HDMI is not, doesn't have any sound, but let me try this out without the HDMI, without using the projector. So if I try to send the hello, it will send it will say hello. It will do a text to speech, which is, I will just show you guys. Okay, so for example, this is the Android application. Okay, sorry, just to. So I know you guys don't see it that much, but yeah, this is the Android application. Again, this is the same thing as what we did earlier. This is the UI, and again, what I did is that whenever I press the button, it will send the hello text, and it will use the the service, the text-to-speech service, and it will, the application will speak and say the words that I type in the text field. So again, if I type in hello guys, so if I type in, if I click the send, so it will still talk. And if I try to run this on the iOS application or iOS device, it will still work. So again, in order for you to use each APIs for each platform, you have to create an implementation for each of them. So it's not really that hard. It's going to be maybe a little bit more work, but it's better than just creating each platform using those traditional approach. So you will have to spend much more time for that. But with this, with Android, only these things are the reason why you will have to work maybe twice or thrice. Okay, so let's just maybe type in again hello everyone or hello guys. So
Hello, guys.
I'm not sure about the voice, but yeah, it's kind of slow, but yeah, it says the hello guys. Let's just try it out again.
Hello, guys.
It's kind of slow, but yeah, those are the things that you need to set up or configure with the iOS. But yeah, so I think you're now able to see, or now I was able to at least show you guys what Xamarin.Forms is capable of. So you probably can now imagine that instead of developing an application for each of them using Java and Android Studio and even Xcode, Swift, or Objective-C, you can just use Xamarin.Forms. You can just maybe create a single application. Or as a .NET developer, if you're already familiar with C# and XAML, you can easily develop an application for all of these three platforms, or even more. So yeah, those are the things that you can do with this, and it will make your development easier, and it will cost less. Right now, that's what there are lots of companies already that uses the Xamarin.Forms as their development in their development. So some of them are already really big. It can cater really any type of device. So it's really gonna be great. So yeah, hopefully you guys you can try this out in the future, and hopefully you saw how easy it is, how great it is to just use this platform, Xamarin platform, instead of using those traditional approach. So, guys, any questions before? Yes, sir.
Any performance improvement using Xamarin.Forms?
You will not notice any, you surely not notice any significant performance or dramatically performance. It will not gonna be really slow, unlike hybrid, because in hybrid you're just like developing in a web application in there. But right here, again, because of the lightweight wrapper, it will still uses the native what you call this controls and it will still have native performance because it's actually natively built. That's the difference with the hybrid and native development. So Xamarin.Forms uses is a native development. So yeah, that makes it really awesome, really fast, great performance, and native look and feel. So yes. Any more questions, guys? Yes, sir. Sir.
Just to add up, Android using methodology of MDVM
Yes.
and iOS using MVC. So kaya medyo madaling transition kung alam niyo yung methodology na MVC, model controller view. So parang kung nakita niyo yung solution niya kanina, diba mayroon siya PCL, which is
Yes.
more like
yes,
Meron ba silang plans to adapt HTML5 for UI development?
HTML5.
Kasi,
Um,
kasi SAML is very hard to use. And it's not very common
yeah.
language.
Yeah, I don't think they have, but the thing here is that yeah, for Windows Phone they have that HTML and C sharp, but I don't think they will do it in Xamarin because right now they still they're still having a hard time with Xamarin. Actually, sobrang hirap pa nga, kulang-kulang pa nga si Xamarin ngayon. So I think they're just gonna be focusing on Xamarin. But the thing here is that there will be someone created this SAML CSS, wherein you can use SAML, but you can use but you can use the styles from CSS. You can write CSS. Uh, yeah, you can write CSS and implement it in your SAML. So yeah, just an additional yeah, because this is gonna be one of my topics for the next session of the for the mobile.net developers session in the Microsoft Office. Anyway,
What tools are you using?
yeah, with this you only need to learn C sharp and SAML. SAML is more of again, it looks like it's an HTML, but yeah, it's kind of different. It's kind of mix of XML and HTML. So yeah, yes,
Two questions po.
okay.
Open source daw po ba yung Xamarin and IFM?
Yes, sige.
Yes, yes.
Yes, it is open source. You can find it in it's already in, I think GitHub, I guess. Yeah, it's open source.
Tatlo pala yung question. After yung open source, yung costing, may bayad, I mean license sa before. Pero pa.
No, no. Just last year, February 2016, Microsoft acquired Xamarin, so they made it free for all. So before, actually, kaya walang gumagamit ng Xamarin, it cost
Yeah.
really $100 or $1,000 in order for you to develop a Xamarin application. So yeah, right now it is for free, all for free.
How about game development? Is it possible without Xamarin?
Well, it depends on the game that you're developing. If you're developing, maybe you might be thinking of maybe 3D game like that. It is possible. You can. Xamarin already has these SDKs that allows you to use or to render 3D objects. So yeah, that is possible, and you can use Skia Sharp if you're familiar. It's already existing, I guess, in iOS before. Not sure, but yeah, that is possible. Really, really possible. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
I saw different layouts, and can I make my own layout?
Sorry, own layout.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say yes. That's just like creating an maybe user control for Windows or WPF. Yeah, it's possible. You can just create a component for that. It depends on you on how you will implement that, of course. But yeah, it is possible, just like other platforms out there. And yeah, any more questions? Yes, sir.
May plans ba sila to from PayPay na pa sila na naka-integrate with personal assistants na mga
Yes, actually they have that. Actually, last year, we tried out Xamarin, and if you're familiar, I'm not sure if Ava is still alive. If you're familiar with Ava, Ava is like the Avanad's virtual assistant. So you can ask out questions about the skill tree, about the things that you need to learn in order for you to get that specific role or to earn that specific skill. So Ava is like it is using Cortana. But yeah, your question is all about Siri and maybe Google Assistant. It is possible. There is an SDK for that. So yeah. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Yung developers sa iOS, so iOS device lang, wala ka sa Windows.
Yeah, well, for that there are lots of of things that you can do with that. First thing is that, yeah, to answer that question, hindi ka pwedeng mag-run talaga. Hindi kasi kaya ni Windows na mag-build ng iOS application. So it doesn't allow you to actually use Xamarin or use or build Android or iOS applications using just a Windows machine. And same thing with Mac. It can't build a Windows application.
So emulator.
So,
Emulator.
I don't think there will be Windows will be allowing you to build, or Mac will, or even Apple will allow you to build an iOS application on Windows. I don't think that's possible, but there is a workaround. There is this Xamarin Live Player that all you need is an iPhone device. So yeah, you need to spend money for iPhone in order for you to run an iOS device too. And that Xamarin Live Player allows you to, in less than 5 seconds, your app will be remotely run. It will run remotely on your phone. So it's more of a connection because of the Wi-Fi wireless connection. So whenever you change something on your application or on your code, it will automatically reflect on your iPhone. So that's one thing. You don't need to build your application. It will just generate the UI on your phone, and you can try it out in your iPhone. You can also debug, you can set breakpoints, and yeah, it will feel like you're just debugging on your phone. So yeah, but again, it doesn't allow you to save that the application inside your phone. It will just allow you to debug. So it will be removed once you're done with the development or debugging. So yeah, you still need a Mac. That's why I'm using a Mac.
Yep. Actually, to add, we have a Mac menu here. Can use that. Oh, pwede. Walang, I mean, basta nandito kayo. Nandito.
Medyo sabay-sabay.
Dapat nandyan lang. Baka may camera dito, biglang may habits eh.
Anyway, any more questions?
As a question.
Yes. Sige, may add daw si Sir.
Just rin, kasi if you have a VM running Mac OS, you can possibly
That is possible. We call it Hackintosh. But only I've seen a few of those, but I haven't tried it myself. But it is possible. Yes.
So,
Yes.
any limitation for Xamarin.Forms? Ibig sabihin ko, yung what you can do traditionally or in the traditional development, can you all do it in Xamarin.Forms? Using Xamarin.Forms, or may limitation ba?
Yeah, I guess to answer that, there is still limitations. Again, Xamarin.Forms is still relatively young compared to the other platforms. And that means there are some SDKs from each platforms for different platforms that still has not been implemented in Xamarin.Forms. So maybe there are things that you can, again, earlier someone asked about the game development, the 3D. They actually just released it this year. So again, it's still continuing on development, but hopefully in the future, sometime in the future, they can already cater all of these SDKs. But yeah, there are some limitations. Any more questions?
How much is the deployment to Apple Store and Play Store?
Oh, the actual release, for example. It depends actually. For Android, you don't have to wait. Just upload the application or the build in the Google console, and you can release it anytime you want. But it will need to be reviewed at your initial commit or initial build. For the initial build, it will be reviewed. But for the next builds or releases, you can just release it whenever you want. As for Apple, it depends actually on what day you try to release it, because every time you release a build, they will review it, and the trend here is that uh, in weekends, before the Friday, Thursday to Sunday, it will take you 2 days. It will take 2 days in order for your application to be uploaded at the App Store. But when you try to upload it on maybe Monday to Wednesday, it will only take 1 day. That's why we try to release our application whenever on Wednesday on yeah, like right now it's Wednesday and today is actually our release. So in order for us to get our application on the App Store by tomorrow. So yeah, it depends uh, and Apple is they're really strict with the uploading of your releases. So yeah, I spent uh, a night at our office just to satisfy all the things that Apple wants me to do for our application. So that's really hard for me, to be honest. So because as a build manager, I do all the builds, I do all the releases. So I need to wait for our developers to finish in order for me to continue my build or to create a release for that day. So yeah, it usually takes 3 to 4 hours or even 6 hours if it has a problem. So any more questions? Yes, sir.
On the iOS side, the Xamarin support the 32-bit and 64-bit architecture of the iOS. As far as I remember, I think the iPhone 5C uses 32-bit architecture. So
Yes.
is it already supported for
Well,
any unified API which Xamarin uses on this?
Well, it depends actually. Again, just like what you said, it depends on the device. For the iPhone 5C, I actually don't know any device about iPhone. But yeah, there's just it depends actually on. But yes, it can run 32-bit and 64. To answer it's specifically for each device, I don't really know for each device. Yeah. So yeah, any more questions? Yes, sir.
Yun, independent ba yung Xamarin sa updates or yun sa updates for versions ng Android or iOS? For example, if there are some APIs available for
Okay,
each.
it's your question. Like for example, may update iOS 11, for example. Nag-release ng iOS 11, nag-release ng panibagong Android OS, which is Oreo, I guess, Oreo yung latest. They are independent with that. To be honest, one time nag-try akong mag-release and nagkaroon ng update si iOS and nag-require sila ng mga panibagong updates. Things that you need to update on the assets folder, on the info for the iOS. It is updated in the Xcode. Xcode is what you use in order for you to develop traditional or native iOS applications. And the problem is that hindi pa nakakagawa ng update si Xamarin for that. So I wasn't able to add these assets that they require because it's not in the hindi pa siya alam ni Xamarin.Forms. So ayun, nahuhuli si Xamarin.Forms for like 2 days in order for you to upload or to update the Xamarin.Forms. Again, Xamarin.Forms is just a NuGet package. So just need to update that, and in order for pagka na-update mo na siya, doon mo na makikita na mapasok niyo na yung mga updates from maybe an update from Apple or iOS and Android. So yeah, that is a problem also.
Pwede rin siyang if for example, nag-release na si Google ng beta for B, whatever B is. Pwede na ba siyang update na ba si Xamarin or does Xamarin wait for
Xamarin will wait. Again, sometimes si Xamarin kasi talaga hinihintay niya muna na ma-release talaga yung kung ano man yung ginawa ni Android or ni iOS. And other than that, parang nagkakaroon, syempre currently nga hindi naman lahat ng SDKs ni Android and iOS are included in the Xamarin. So yeah, I will say na Yes, sir.
Question with regards to mga resource file. Kasi pagkakaalam ko sa Android, they have their own resource libraries.
Yes.
Paano yung sa iOS?
Are you,
For
what
example,
resources are you talking? Maybe I'm
For
thinking.
example, language.
Yes, yeah.
So, di ba sa Android, they have their own, example, you have folder for EN or English, folder for Spanish, SB. So you have they have their own parang resources for that. How about dun sa iOS?
Okay, so yeah, to answer that question, actually I created a blog about that before. It's called the localization of your application. So it allows your application.
Sorry, ito pala.
Sige, sige.
Sorry, wait lang ah. Just... Oh, wala. Hindi ko alam kung saan nakalagay yung story. Doon na muna natin.
Okay. To answer that, yes, they're quite different, but no, they're actually quite different because from the start naman talaga yung file system or yung assets na kung paano naka-generate yung assets ni Android and ni iOS are different. For iOS, you need to put all your assets inside the resources folder, and for the Android, you need to put it all in your drawables. Yes. So, dun sa drawables na yun, you can now, inside the drawables, or, yeah, actually, same, kung saan nakalagay si drawables, doon ka maglalagay ngayon ng drawables, -es for Spanish, and, yun, doon mo na siya pwedeng, doon mo na pwedeng ngayon ilagay yung mga, yung mga images, or that images muna. But you can use Xamarin.Forms actually. You can use, if you want to change the, like for example, the text, the string for that. For example, you have